All right, settle in, folks, because what I'm about to share with you is honestly something I still can't quite believe happened to me and my family. You ever find yourself wondering if your life just turned into a bad sitcom? That was us, the moment we rolled our moving truck into Willow Creek Preserve, thinking we'd found our forever home. Turns out what we really found was the queen of HOA drama herself. Let's call her Karen because honestly, there's no better fit. First time I met her, I was out front wrestling. This enormous potted fern, sweating buckets, boxes everywhere, kids arguing over who got the bigger bedroom. I was just trying to survive moving day when I hear this click of expensive heels across the asphalt. Up strides Karen, hair sprayed like she's bracing for a tornado linen pantsuit, straight from the pages of a catalog, arms folded so tight you'd think she was about to write me a citation. She stops, gives me a slow once-over, and says in this syrupy voice, "I do hope you people understand the standards we maintain here. Not a welcome, not a need. Any help with those boxes, just you people." I just stared, already feeling my patience tested and managed. "Right now, ma'am, my only standard is getting this fern out of the sun before it dies, but I appreciate your concern." She sniffed, eyeing my rented truck like it was leaking oil on her sacred curb, and marched away. That's how it began, day one, and the gauntlet had already been thrown. My wife Sarah missed the opening salvo. When I told her what Karen said, she just sighed this heavy novel-length sigh. Our daughter Maya, 12 and already sharper than I'll ever be, poked her head in and said, "Did she mean people who like ferns?" Dad, Leo, 8, looked crushed. "Are we not supposed to like ferns here?" I tried to keep it light, but Maya, she knew. Kids always know when something's up. Now let me set the record straight. I'm Gregory Young, a guy who prefers spreadsheets to shouting matches. I notice everything. Sarah calls me her domestic detective, but I like to keep the peace. I just wanted my kids to have a yard to play in and Sarah to have a kitchen she could call her own. But after Karen's little welcome, I knew people like that always overplay their hand. You just have to be patient. Patience and a bit of planning. That's how I operate. Well, Karen was across the street and a little to the left, which meant she had a perfect view of our house, our driveway, and a good stretch of our backyard. Every time I mowed the lawn, I'd see those curtains twitch. The kids couldn't even ride their bikes without her pretending to read on her porch book, held upside down, eyes following their every move. It was like living in a fishbowl, and the cat had insomnia. Her first official complaint came 3 days in. I was taking the garbage cans out, just trying to get a jump on things, and here comes that foghorn voice, "Mr. Young, a word if you please." She informed me the bins should be out no earlier than 6 p.m. and collected no later than 8 p.m., and it was, God help me, 4:37 p.m. I glanced down the street. Old Mr. Abernathy had his out at noon, but somehow mine were the threat to neighborhood harmony. "Understood, Mrs. Emily," I said her real name, but Karen is what stuck. That was just the first tick mark in my mental ledger. She didn't want neighbors, she wanted subjects, and the unspoken part of every complaint always had that undercurrent: "You don't belong here." My kids. They became targets number 1 and 2. Maya's cartwheels and Leo's toy trucks in the sandbox apparently violated the sacred sound barrier. One morning I hear Karen yelling over the fence about excessive shrieking. It's 10:30. My kids are giggling and she's acting like we're hosting a rock concert. I tried to be diplomatic, but she hit me with, "Perhaps you could encourage them to engage in quieter pursuits. Reading, perhaps." As if joy itself was against the rules. We got a letter from the HOA about maintaining peaceful community noise levels, no mention of us by name, but the timing was no coincidence. The campaign continued, complaints about odors when we barbecued Sarah's jerk chicken and my ribs. Legendary, if I say so myself. Music that was ethnic because nothing says dangerous like Motown at dinner time, and just a general sense of, "Why are you here?" Even our friends Mark and Lisa noticed it. "There's one in every neighborhood," Mark muttered. "Sometimes more than one. Every day another small jab." But the real turning point, the twist I didn't see coming, was when Karen weaponized the system. She started cornering Sarah in the yard, making little comments about Leo being a bit solitary, or asking if Maya was adjusting to the local schools. The implication was always there: your family doesn't fit in here. It wore on Sarah, and for the first time, I saw her confidence waver. Then one Tuesday I got a call at work, Sarah sobbing, "Gregory, you need to come home right now." Child Protective Services was at our door. Someone anonymous, but I didn't need Sherlock Holmes, had reported us for neglect and leaving the children unsupervised. I was furious. but I knew better than to show it. The caseworker walked through our home, saw the kids' rooms, the fridge, the art, met Maya and Leo, who were confused but honest. Within an hour, she apologized and said she'd be closing the case. There was absolutely nothing to see. But the damage was done. Karen had crossed a line. Questioning my garbage cans was petty. Calling CPS was war. That night, Sarah said, "Maybe we should move." For a second, I almost agreed. But I looked at my kids still bouncing back from the scare and said, "No, we're not running. We belong here as much as anyone." But I also knew being polite wasn't enough. I upgraded the cameras around our property. I started keeping a Karen dossier: dates, complaints, neighbor stories. I learned about her prior run-ins, the time she stole Girl Scout cookies off Tom's porch, thought they were a gift she'd claimed, her war with Mr. Patel over exotic spices. Turns out Karen was an equal opportunity menace, but she saved her sharpest claws for families who didn't look like hers. My network grew: Mr. Abernathy, Mrs. Rodriguez, Tom with the sunflowers. They all had Karen stories, but mine, it seemed, was the main event. For a while, things were quiet. Sarah started planting bright flowers along the fence, a kind of cheerful barricade. We bought the kids a trampoline, something they'd begged for. I braced myself, expecting fireworks, but for a week, nothing. Just the sound of Maya and Leo bouncing, laughter echoing across the yard. Pure, unfiltered joy. Then, of course, came the storm. I was trimming hedges when Karen charged over, livid about the bouncing machine that was apparently destroying the peace, threatening her airspace and causing her roses to droop. She threatened the HOA fines, daily penalties, the works. I calmly told her the trampoline was legal, safe, and staying put. She fumed, sputtered, and stalked away. A few days later, we got a letter from the HOA. I replied with photos, documentation, and a footnote about the benefits of children playing outside. Silence followed, which, knowing Karen, was even more unsettling. The grand finale. She took matters into her own hands. One quiet afternoon, I heard a scrape in the backyard. There she was, high heels suit, climbing my 6-foot fence like an angry mountain goat, cameras rolling. I watched as she tried to climb onto the trampoline. Heels got stuck. She lost her balance and physics did its thing. Karen bounced once, then launched sideways into our rose bushes. I swear the universe paused to laugh. I saved the footage, took my time, then went outside to find her flailing, scratched, missing a shoe, and screaming that she'd been assaulted by my weaponized trampoline. She threatened to call the police. I beat her to it. When the officers arrived, Karen tried to spin her tale. She was inspecting the trampoline for community safety, she claimed, while I had weaponized it. The officers listened, then I showed them the footage. By the time Karen bounced into the roses, Officer Dexter let out a snort, and his partner was giggling behind her clipboard. They told Karen flat out she'd trespassed, she'd lied, and yes, I had the right to press charges. So I did. You should have seen her face when they cuffed her: pure disbelief, indignation, then panic. As they led her away, neighbors peeked out from behind curtains. Some even gave me a thumbs up. Turns out we weren't the only ones relieved. The judge gave her a fine, community service, and here's the kicker: anger management. The HOA backed off. The trampoline stayed. And for the first time, laughter returned to our backyard, unshadowed by Karen's scowl. I built a little sign, stuck it by the trampoline: bounce zone, enter at your own risk, especially in high heels. It became a private joke, a symbol that joy and decency had won out, at least this time. So that's my tale. The time, patience, documentation, and a little help from gravity brought a bully to her knees. Sometimes you have to stand your ground, keep your cool, and let karma do its work. Now I want to hear from you. What's your Karen story? Where are you listening from? Drop a comment. Let's see if we can't turn these battles into a little community of our own. And hey, may your trampolines always be bouncy and your rose bushes always thorny at just the right time.